Hi, it's Ryan Black, and I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of audio file formats. We'll have a quick PowerPoint here and talk about some primary labels and ways that audio is encoded, both lossless and high quality, and lossy, which is formats where we actually get rid of data in various ways. So a file format is a specific way of encoding information for storage on a hard drive. And there are two types of high quality audio formats. The first is an uncompressed audio file format. And this you might be familiar with is something like a WAV file or an AIFF file, both of which are based on PCM, pulse code modulation. That basic set of data is packaged in a way where it can be read back by various programs on a computer or from a hard drive. But this type of audio, PCM, which in turn is AIFF and WAV files, which have been updated to broadcast WAV files that you see here on the screen, this type of data generally yields large file size because every single point in the data is there. So if you have multiple places where the value is the same, it doesn't say, oh, well, look, there's like 200 14s here. It says 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 200 times. So your file size ends up being large. And in general, it ends up being the same size if it's 2 minutes of loud music or 2 minutes of quiet music, because every single point is stored with a value. There are also high quality file formats, lossless, meaning you haven't lost any data, but they are compressed. So you can take a file of high quality and you can compress it and not lose any of that data. Some of these include FLAC, Apple lossless, Window Media audio lossless, as well as Aac and other formats. There are actually a bunch of these out there, Monkey Audio, Tom's Audio, and so forth. These are not as useful now as they were maybe 15 or 20 years ago when hard drive storage was at a premium. But these formats, the issue with them is you have to interpret the data to get back to a full audio quality of the original file. So you can take a WAV file, format it as a FLAC file, and it might be half the size. But in order to play back a FLAC file, you need to de-encode it so that you can play back the full quality original audio file. That process is similar to zipping a folder, where you take a bunch of files and you zip them into one file that packages it more efficiently. And as I mentioned, the compression ratio, generally file sizes, not compression like audio compressors, but like the file size generally is about half-ish. Now, there are also file types where we lose data, and these are extremely common, right? This is what you use all the time when you're listening to music. There's, I think Spotify uses Orbis now, which is a format you can look up that I think we'll see here. But also the most common one is definitely MP3, and you probably have heard of it. There's also AAC, which has nothing to do with Apple specifically. And then MP4s and lossy window media player files. The company that is worth checking out behind some of these is Fraunhofer, which also works with Dolby and has worked with cell phone companies and works on conversion rates and things like masking for creating the algorithms that allow us to take a file, a WAV file, a high quality file, and somehow remove 10 out of 11 pieces of information and still have it sound acceptable. And if you think about that, that's kind of a massive amount of data that we lose in 128 kilobit per second MP3. It's about a 1 to 11, and you don't get it back. It's gone. If you take a WAV file, you convert it to an MP3, you lose all of that data. If you take the MP3 and you convert it back to a WAV file, you don't get back the data. The data is gone, right? So lossy compression removes sound and silence that are deemed unnecessary. It uses things like masking, where if you have like a really loud sound, you can get rid of quiet things like reverb tails and stuff. And this becomes very apparent in music that has a lot of dynamics, like classical music or acoustic recordings, where you go like, well, what happened to the reverb? It also can become apparent in extreme highs and extreme lows in high fidelity systems or headphones, where you'll go, well, we're missing part of the audio frequency. Well, that's because in the algorithm, they deemed it unnecessary. Clearly, a lower quality will be a lower file size, which can be great, right? If you're just playing stuff on a phone, doesn't matter. There's no subwoofer. You're never going to hear it anyway. So who cares? But if you're trying to listen to something on studio monitors like here, or on a nice hi-fi system, yeah, you want 40 hertz, you want 30 hertz, and those really don't exist much in MP3s. And you might ask, what is an AAC file? I mentioned that, and this is sort of a updated version of MP3, really. Interesting standard of PlayStation, which may or may not know, and it's designed by this company that I mentioned, Fraunhofer, which is worth checking out. They do a lot of cool things. So that's it for file formats. I hope that that overview of lossless, compressed, lossless, uncompressed, and lossy file formats was clear, and you now have a better understanding of how audio is encoded on your computer. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.